You immediately feel badly. You do. You immediately feel badly. You do. You immediately feel badly. You do. You do. You immediately. You do. Badly. 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 You feel badly. You immediately feel badly. Badly. You do. Badly. Feel badly. 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 You do. You immediately feel badly, didn't you? It's something. It's like a. It's something. It's like a. It's something. You do. You do. You immediately feel badly, didn't you? It's something. It's like a. It's something. It's like a fear. It's like a fear, didn't you? It's something. It's like a fear.
It's oppressive thinking so much, for me to think so much about whether I'm cutting you off or not, and then hearing that I cut you off. And every time I hear it, I cut you off. I've cut you off again. I'm cutting you off now. Every time I hear it, I'm cutting you off now again. I'm cutting you off now. And that's really kind of oppressive. And I feel like it's
making yourself continually aware by repeating. You're talking about repeating the tape backwards and forwards, playing over and over again an instance where you did something wrong and you cut somebody off. And again and again over, I cut her off, I'm cutting her off over and over. Fixed, it frightens me. How can I cut somebody off?
No, that isn't it. What frightens me is that as long as I'm repeating that, I'm stuck there. And it's not until I stop repeating that I'm out there.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems super.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems super.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it's.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems supernatural, like it wasn't.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems supernatural, like it wasn't. It's science fiction.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems super.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems supernatural, like it wasn't. It's science fiction.
Use it. I think they're interesting.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems supernatural, like it wasn't. It's science fiction. Sorry, go ahead. You know what it is, though? I feel that you cut me off. You know what it is, though? I feel that you cut me.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems supernatural, like it wasn't. It's science.
Sort of, you know, when Greg.
But it seems supernatural. I find that I'd rather not talk at all. I have a tendency to not really want to say much of anything.
You're kind of passive aggressive.
Because talking involves this really. You get into hair-splitting judgments about everything that comes out of your mouth, and it's just too much trouble to analyze it all and figure out what to do. It's polite for me to cut you off. And that's part of the rule.
It's not that you don't cut, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. You're not doing it because it has nothing to do with politeness at all. If it was politeness, I would cut people off all the time. It's not because it's polite. I'm not interested in being polite in that sense. But it's because the way you get to know somebody is to learn not to cut them off. I mean, it's oppressive to cut somebody off. Not as a general rule, because being polite is precisely cutting people off. Hello, how are you? How's the weather? That's being polite. And that is cutting people off, and it seems like it's a completely different thing. My sense is just that I cut people off by...
But see, in all of those instances, I felt cut off. She was saying she felt cut off. I was saying I felt cut off. It doesn't matter. I want to be unaffected by this social schlop. But at the same time, I want to be able to immerse myself, just like I was able to feel that guy's paranoia the other day. I felt like I had a real empathy, and at the same time, it wasn't affecting me, or I was in control of it. Is the way I put it before. That's better. And you know, I don't really think that is all that important. I don't really think that my life is important. I think that it doesn't really matter what happens.
So why do you want to stay in control of it if it's not?
It doesn't really matter what happens.
Why do you want to stay in control of it if it's not important?
So that I don't lose my mind and get driven crazy trying to meet somebody else's standards.
Well, I could see that you could get driven crazy if you tried to, you know.
Well, like
if people drove you mad, right? You could be
well,
driven.
People are always trying to drive you mad.
Right, but
always.
Yes.
Always, everywhere.
But it doesn't seem like you would be driven crazy by giving up, you know, the control over your life. Why would that drive you crazy? I see other people driving crazy. Why if you don't control your life?
Well, it's the guilt. You see, my mother would like me to feel guilty for not wanting to support my country in a particular set of social values.
Right, that's true.
And no matter what set of social values you're operating from, be it hip social values or, you know, Buckley social values,
right,
people are trying to sell you a bill of goods, a point of view.
Right.
They're trying to gain control of your structure, and then with that guilt, they can control you.
Well, they're trying to gain control of the way in which you see things. They're trying to get you to see things, to value things.
The way they do.
The way or the way they think is appropriate to value them, not necessarily even the way they do.
That's right.
That is true.
Right.
I think
not
that
again,
is
not
true.
don't do as I do.
Do as I say. We have,
right.
Yeah, right.
And so I need to be in control and aware of what's going on.
Right. You have
so
to
that
be
I don't go nuts with it. Yeah. Aware of what's going on.
Right. You have
so
to
that
be
I don't go. And so I need to be in control and aware of what's going on.
We have, yeah, right.
And so I need to be in control and aware of what's going on.
Yeah, right.
And so I need to be in control and aware of what's going on.
Right. That seems fine.
But,
that's what being aware is. That's what we're talking about. And there are some ways in which it's just, you know, they are imposing, they're succeeding. I mean, the virus, you know, does infect you.
Maybe I take it too personally, you know, I mean, maybe I do that. But I still felt like you had cut me off. Every bit as much as you felt like it.
Right.
Yeah, but I felt that I sort of have an equal right to respond to anything that's being said.
And besides, it's not a question. The reason what's interesting is that you feel right, you know, in what you do usually. I mean, it's not a question of you feeling wrong in what you do. It's just a question of sometimes you're not aware of how what you do kind of interacts with other people. In some way you really can't find out unless other people tell you. Also, somehow that some things you do are, I hate to say it this way, socially reinforced, that they're kind of, that they create patterns in the whole society. Which, saying, for instance, the fact that you and I do that to women, or at least I do that to women, tends to make me feel that and that women don't do that to me. That that I have the same kind of thing with Susan that you have with Phyllis here, in respect to cutting off, makes me even more question it and want to hear it over and over again and become really conscious of what, you know. Not because I think just become more conscious of what I'm doing, more aware of what I'm doing.
It's interesting to me that part of it...
Well, more aware almost...
Because I feel like I'm not.
See, there it is again.
Conscious of what I'm doing. More aware of what I'm doing.
It's interesting to me that part of it...
Well, more aware almost...
Because I feel like I'm not.
See, there it is again.
Not because I think just become more conscious of what I'm doing. More aware of what I'm doing.
It's interesting to me that part of it...
Well, more aware almost...
Because I feel like I'm not.
See, there it is
again. Become really conscious of what, you know. Not because I think just become more conscious of what I'm doing. More aware of what I'm doing.
It's interesting to me that part of it...
Well, more aware almost...
Because I feel like I'm not.
See, there it is again.
Okay, don't forget what you wanted to say then.
Over and over again, become really conscious of what, you know. Not because I think it just become more conscious of what I'm doing. More aware of what I'm doing. You know.
It's interesting to me that part of it...
Well, more aware almost...
Interesting to me that part of it...
Well, more aware almost...
Because I feel like I'm not.
See, there it is again.
More conscious of what I'm doing. More aware of what I'm doing. You know.
It's interesting to me that part of it...
Well, more aware almost...
Because I feel like I'm not.
See, there it is.
Not because I think it just become more conscious of what I'm doing. More aware of what I'm doing. You know.
It's interesting to me that part of it...
Well,
not because I think it just become more conscious of what I'm doing. More aware of what I'm doing. You know.
It's interesting to me that part of it...
well, more aware almost...
Because I feel like I'm not.
See, there it is again.
Okay.
But when you hear this tape, you no longer can remember the situation without being influenced by what you heard on the tape. It's almost like shock treatment in a way. You lose something of what you remembered about the others.
You lose something about
The
what you
actual
remembered because of the shock of hearing how it actually was.
But only on one level, you see, and you don't have all the other cues, and you can't feel what you were saying with the kind of certainty that you had at the moment you said it.
You mean cues like physical
All kinds of
expressions
cues.
and things from other people?
Every body sense I have. And that doesn't come across. And it's like I can make you feel something in the room with you, but on the tape I can't. I can if like the way you and Stu did that tape. If you really act, then you can make people. Then you can get it to come across on the tape. If you try and be yourself, it doesn't come across.
I don't know. I think
How
there's
do you
a
come
subtle...
across? There's something.
There's a subtle
Something,
tone
yeah,
of
one
voice.
level comes across. But I'm not sure I'm not sure how interested I am in hearing myself or having it recorded for anyone else to hear one level of how I was in a particular conversation. It would have been an actual conversation.
Well, that would have been, yeah, sure. A tape of a conversation.
It would have been an actual tape of a conversation.
It would be. It is an actual tape of a conversation. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You might be aware of what it was. You might use it. I think they're interesting. So.
Sort of, you know, when Greg
But
commented...
it seems supernatural, like it wasn't it's science fiction. Sorry, go ahead. You know what it is, though? I feel that you cut me off.
But
That really, I was in the middle of something with Charles, and you. And
Well,
that
that's
was the way
just it. You assume it's a conversation purely with Charles.
Well, no,
I
but we were
understand.
talking about this.
No, it was during a silence. It was during a normal pause when anybody might have said something.
I don't. I mean, that is difficult because there's a way that you can. There's a way you can say. Whatever you want. And be whatever way you want. And you're right. You know, you're right. Because you're doing it. It feels right. I mean, I feel good about it. It feels like the right thing to do. It really does. It feels like the right thing. Because you're doing it. I mean, you're doing it. How could you, because you're doing it, how could you do the wrong thing? So, you know, there's that kind of that sense that you just are incorrigible. I don't know if that's the right word. Incorrectable, you know, because you're doing it, it's your experience. It can't be captured. It's like what you said. It's a tape and it can't be captured. So, and yet, it seems to me that one can be corrected. One does things wrong. One can find out about them. One offends other people. One cuts other people off. In the realm of people, one makes mistakes. One shouldn't be kind of dwelling, as you say, in the kind of the mire of guilt that I'm never doing things right, which, you know, is a thing you can, you know, that I do sometimes, but it's still possible. You know, certainly I sometimes feel, you know, everything I'm doing is wrong, causes me to question. But at the same time, it seems that you don't have to just kind of be debilitated by that the way that you were talking about. It seems that can just be a way of another thing that you do. You know, just like all the other things you do, becoming aware of how what you do affects other people. Taking an interest. Not becoming pathological about it, not becoming obsessive about it, not becoming paranoid about it, but taking a real interest in how you relate to other people, to the world, to other things, why you are, who you are. You take a real interest in yourself.
Yeah, but there's a point where the effort, you know, it's like, how interested am I? You know, some books I'll read halfway into, some books I'll read all the way into, and my interest is just, it's a great deal of effort to go back and sort it out, and then I, you know.
But the feeling is that it's effort because somehow there's something.
Somehow I don't feel like I want to be that social. Like I don't care that much. You know, if people don't like me just being a fart ass, you know, then that's too bad.
But wait a minute.
That's a way in which I become aware of things. It's just a thing.
That is a way.
Well, let me see. During the last hour, I spoke, you know, all this amount of time, and the other person I was talking to didn't speak at all because I somehow was talking so loud. I was so anxious not to lose my train of thought.
You may read that in too. That may not have. Maybe the person didn't.
That's true. You know, that's true. But what happens if the person corroborates and says, "Yes, in fact, I felt that very strongly.
Oh, well, then
you felt that. The other person felt that."
Then you might have discovered.
But on the other hand, why shouldn't I just do what I want? I'm a solitary bird. I should just go on and be dominating. Because it's fun to dominate. I enjoy power. I like it. I want to be important. I want to get ahead. If Phyllis says anything, it's going to basically interfere with my developing my verbal skills. I don't have time for Phyllis. What's she going to do for me? Have you lost your train of thought now?
No, I was going to make a very simple comment, which is only partially relevant. It was that you made the comment several times when we were first playing back the tape. The problem was my voice was so small and soft, and I think that's one reason why it happens so much with women. It's much easier to keep on talking when there's a small voice going there, and sometimes, you know, I remember a long time ago I would have discussions with people who would say, well, you know, you have to thrust yourself into the conversation. You have to shout. Well, I don't like to shout. And I think it's a lot harder for people with soft voices.
People don't like to shout. See, I think
that's why I find that I'd rather not talk at all. I have a tendency to not really want to say much of anything.
You're kind of passive aggressive.
Because talking involves this really. You get into hair-splitting judgments about everything that comes out of your mouth, and it's just too much trouble to analyze it all and figure out what to do.
It doesn't seem hair-splitting to me. I mean, it seems like it's fairly obvious, and it's just... I'd rather be
free-flowing, though, when it comes out of me. You know, when the interruption comes out of me, it comes out. You know, it blurts out. It goes, bleh! You know? And I burst out with something. I don't want to have to think, well, it's not my time to talk. I got to watch my watch.
Yeah, but then I can't be
free-flowing. Ready, go. What I'm saying is you can be free-flowing, and so can I.
But how can I be free-flowing?
Just like you are now.
But it's causing me to have
I'm
to
not
compete.
cutting you off now.
But I don't want to compete with you.
I'm feeding. We're bouncing off of each other as I speak right now. I'm not cutting you off. Yes.
Were you responding to what I said?
Yes, as you were saying.
I was talking about competition, and you were denying that you were cutting me off. I was saying that in order for me to talk at the same time as you, then I felt like I was competing with you. I would rather sort of talk alternately. Not that it's time for me and it's time for you, but that somehow when either of us is totally unrestrained in our flow, then it does cut the other person.
Yeah, but when I hold myself back that way, I can't hang on to it that long. It's like I get an idea that's sort of stretching, and to pull it back and hold it down, and like I've already forgotten what I was going to say after you said your thing. This whole process is so incredibly complicated to keep up with. You know, right now you're having your little section here, and I was going to say something. Remember we were competing for this time slot a while ago. Well, I've forgotten what it was I was going to say. There's no way I could hang on to it that long. And it's not worth it to me to try and search it back out again. And it's gone. But it was important to me at the time, every bit as much as what you said was important to you at the time. And if somehow it could have blurted, maybe we could have blurted, you know, almost simultaneously. It actually says that whenever you film anyone and they know it, it's different than when they don't know it.
So in other words, we're not going
That's
to really...
true. That's true with tapes too. I mean,
We're not going to get through. We're not going to know who we are.
I mean, don't you know who you are?
Okay, well then. Okay. But the thing I'm always about is how these modes of behavior that seem to exclude people, are they somehow tied in with the things that I don't like about the way the society as a whole is operating? It does seem to me that those are intimately tied in because they're male power tools. That we can do that and therefore exclude people who are weaker than us. It's therefore as competitive as Phyllis was saying. So it does seem to me worthwhile.
In a
I feel
social,
sometimes like
social conscious way. Right. It's as if you have some obligation to kind of enlighten the people.
But I mean, it's just
It is interesting.
tangled up.
Oppressive for me to see myself so clearly. It's oppressive for me to see myself so clearly. But it's oppressive for me to see myself so clearly.
Just like watching
It's oppressive for me to see myself so clearly. I would rather watch the river flow than have to analyze my intentions in cutting Phyllis off.
But you yourself have said that it's very important.
But you see,
Extremely important to be aware of what you are doing because they are trying to impose their values on you. And the only way to prevent that is to be aware of how that is happening. And now you're saying rather than take the time, it seems to me you're saying, rather than take the time to really become aware, I would rather watch the river flow. It seems to me that becoming aware is watching the river flow. It shouldn't be something else. It shouldn't be some guilt-ridden, tale, which I think you projected as being.
That's what I am doing. I'm projecting it being there.
But it's not. It's what
I
it
feel
could be just like watching
but
the river
it's oppressive for me to see myself so clearly.
I don't know that listening to a tape over and over lets you see yourself clearly. I don't know if listening to other people. I think it's an extraordinary thing to hear what other people have to say, about the way in which they perceive things, including you. And it's rather, just as I really understand the particular way in which, you see something differently than me is very interesting. But it has, within that interest, it's very interesting to hear how people perceive you and how you perceive, how you perceive them. Not only perceive, but feel,
But
how
it's
you
much
relate.
more interesting for me to have this happening right now and seeing you than it is to go back and listen. What frightens me is that as long as I'm repeating that, I'm stuck there. And it's not until I stop repeating that I'm out there. And to continue repeating the same things over and over again is not going to get me anywhere. I'm not going to move.
Yeah, but I think the
But it's
problem...
this kind of T-group, and here I am analyzing, it's a very self-centered thing, and I think all of that, but to kind of dwell on that I find debilitating and crippling.
Being dragged through the
To
mind.
be dragged down, yes. Rather than, come up any higher, he'd rather get you down into the hole that he's in.
It's important to see how your memory alters from...
But when you hear this tape, you no longer can remember being influenced by what you heard on the tape. It's almost like shock treatment in a way. You lose something of what you remembered about the others.
You lose
His voice is like,
All you hear is the voices, but
and there's a lot more to talking to
But doesn't
people
that
than the
make
voice.
somehow
It's
just-
movement. Whether I'm bouncing my leg, whether I'm rocking.
That certainly true, but also to make you more aware. The verbal.
Could make you more aware of the verbal.
Do you...
But the verbal is, I think, the most elusive. Like when you turn on the ads, if you turn down the sound, it's easy to be detached from the picture. But if you have the sound on, you pay attention mostly to the picture, and the sound is more subliminal.
Right, so therefore by playing over and over again, let's say you somehow break through the spell. You break through the subliminal part. You begin to hear what it sounds like. I don't know. I can understand the concern. It makes sense, but it's part of, like, I don't know. I'm always trained, really, trained to always see how anything I say could be used against me. That is prudent. It is prudent. But what's not prudent is holding on to things which have no clear and obvious use against me. And it's almost better to take the risk. You know, I mean, if one thought all one's life was filled with CIA agents, it would almost be better to take the risk and tell them, you know, what you thought. I mean, unless you're involved in military secrets somehow. This troop train is going to move from Dunkirk to Paris tomorrow. And I don't know that I would tell you that if I knew that, if that was I don't see why you'd be interested. It wouldn't be important. But other than that, it seems to me one takes the risk, because what do you have to lose? What are they going to find out about you? That you're a creep? I mean, they think that anyway about me. So I'm not concerned. I can't even. Seems to me, let the secrets out.
Well, I mean, it's not real. I'm not convinced that I'm opposed to tape. This started out being an idea. I have this feeling, kind of implicitly, that the tape is part in itself. It's unnatural. It's a perverted, bizarre idea to try and capture a moment in time.
But that's, you see,
But I think it's because you think it can be used somehow against you.
That's part of it.
In fact,
And I don't
the
really know
reference-
why I think that. It just doesn't seem like a conversation is not real. You know, 100 years ago, people had a conversation and it was lost except in memory forever.
We are living in
and
a
I
different...
kind of like that, you know.
Well, move back.
And writing about it. Well, I feel like the tape somehow is. It's almost like the Arabs feel when you take their pictures, you're capturing their soul in a way.
They're absolutely right.
There's an element of that there.
It's right. It's like doing a motion picture. I hate to be photographed.
I don't particularly like to be photographed.
I really don't like to be photographed. I do think you do feel
But
it.
this is like a photograph.
It is like a photograph. It's
It's
true.
a sound photograph.
It's a sound photograph. It's true.
Sound.
It's a sound photograph. It's true. It's true. It really is like a photograph. It's a sound photograph. It's true. It's true. It's true.
Charles said that you might use the tape for something, and you had said earlier something about a tape that was made in the afternoon. You could tell the quality of it was made in the afternoon. Could be something like the different scenes of the Impressionists, sort of the view of a cathedral, different times of the day. You know, get that feeling of the conversations in the afternoon, conversation in the evening.